So one of the first things I like to do with Clip Studio is what you could do is just go ahead and when you create new layers, this is the layer you're going to flat on the bottom, right? And on that layer, um, you can go ahead and multiply this. Just go ahead and multiply this layer. That's one way. That's cool because now when you go and you apply color, you're going to see color behind it. Okay, that's great, well and good. Now, um, Photoshop and Clip Studio have the same uh, process. So they can convert your line. They can literally take out all the white and just leave the black lines on the art piece. Now, in Photoshop, you have to actually set it up. You have to set that process up where you have to go in and you run an action, or or you have to go up to um, the my brain just went blank right now. I can't remember. We had to go up here, but you had to go. Let's say you were. So you had to go. Where is that option? I have it set for a hotkey, but it's set for this option. So you basically have to like select all. You have to go through color range, and you can do that. You can do it with a magic wand, but it doesn't really. It works, but you have to really know what you're doing to actually do it. So with Photoshop, there's a process where you have to set it up yourself. It doesn't automatically just do it. In Clip Studio, it automatically does this. So remember we had this line, right? Now watch this. So I have this line art on this one layer. Okay, all you have to do is make sure that layer is set. If you go over to the effects panel on the far right, make sure that's set to gray. So there's color, there's monochromatic, and there's gray. Make sure it's set to gray. That means it's in the gray tones. And then on the side of it, you're going to have the two options, which is the change expression colors. So expressions are just basically, now it just basically starts thinking of it as like alphas, because everything is with blacks and whites, darks and lights, and so that's basically the same concept. So once you click on black, it automatically takes out the white, and now it's gone. Really? Come on now, go away. Go away. Okay, so now it takes it out. So now it's set. It's ready to go. That line is pretty much in. Now this is just a preview. If you want to make it permanent, you would have to create another layer, or just go ahead and save it out as a PSD. Once it's saved as a PSD, Clip Studio converts it to complete. It automatically solidifies this, and you don't have to worry about the white popping back in or anything like that. So once you have this like this, now all you have to do is just go ahead and merge it down. Really? Come on, dude. Let's just set to multiply. I think that's what it was. Yep, that's what it was. The bottom layer was set for normal. The top layer was set to multiply. So when I merged it, it automatically was reading the settings for the bottom layer and it reapplied the white. So it made it normal again. So now everything's set. So now when I go in, see what happens? It actually makes a selection all around the black, which is pretty cool. And now you have that, and you don't have to worry about anything else. So let's say you're making you're coloring this, you're coloring like this part of her body. You can select it like that, and then you can go through and you can run like a grad, like this. See, and now the color will only affect the line art like that. So that's a really cool way of affecting that.
Who are your usual inker and colorist?
My usual inker is Richard Friend. I don't have a usual colorist. I use whatever colors is available. But for the most part, I used to. Um, and it sort of depends on what I'm working on too. If I'm working on a book for DC or something, usually they they they'll either supply me a colorist or I'll say, hey, I really like this guy. Can you get this guy on this project? And they'll say, yep. Then next we're communicating, and now we have this colorist on the project. But it just depends. But for the most part, I kind of like to color my own stuff. Why? Because when I draw, I think in color. So I know this piece is going to be a bright piece. Like if you see what I'm talking about, like her leg, I know this is going to be brighter than this upper part than the of her body right here. So you can tell. So I just automatically set it like that when I'm drawing, and then you just kind of color it. There's some colors who can read that and they get it, and then some colors who don't. They will color, um, like say, um, they'll color like say if this part of her body is one color, and then this other part of the body is a different color. Well, I would probably go green. Let's go with like a lighter color. Like this part of her body is like this color right here. Then this you have to color him differently. You can't color him the same. They have blue takes to light different from how yellow would take to light. So you have to think about that. Then on top, you have to think of the shape of the object you're coloring too. It's not just the color. The shape is, and it's not just the shape. It's a combination of both the shape and the colors. So I wouldn't color a red shirt the same way how I'd color a yellow shirt. It's just different. So you have to keep a lot of that in mind as you're moving forward. Um, so so now I have this set. This is ready to go. Now, Clip Studio has a really cool function of flatting. I'm just going to create another layer so I can have that separate. Make sure all the settings are right, which I know it is. Now, this is one really cool way of how Clip Studio colors, okay? Or how it flats. I'm just clicking and I'm going, okay? Now, that's one way. Another way of doing it is to literally go in, make your selections around. Make sure you have to make sure anti-aliasing is set to none. So go in, make your selections like this. And then you fill it. Now that's one way of doing it. Okay, now that's probably the best way of doing it on a piece like this because this here has a lot of rough edges. The line art has some rough edges. It doesn't have anything smooth. So what happens with Clip Studios, like you saw when I clicked over here on this yellow, look what happens when you hide the line. It has all these jagged straight edges. That's not a problem. Okay. For some people who are used to flatting like this, to have nice solid clean lines like that, um, when they see this can bug them. But at the same time, when you cover it, you never see it. So keep that in mind that it's not that big of a deal. It all depends on how finicky are you as an artist, and if you and just what you're used to. But for me, I'm flexible. I can go either way. I can go with the rough edges, or I can go with the smooth edges. It doesn't matter because no one will ever see it. It's never going to get printed. No one's ever going to see this jagged and rough areas. Now, The only thing you have to worry about is having a hard edge, which it has a hard edge. If you look at it, everything's solid. It's not, there is no soft edges like that. If you had a soft edge like that, you have problems. You do not want to have soft edges like this when you're coloring, when you're flatting, okay? Because you're going to have issues. The reason why, because when you make a selection, look what happens. See, at the selection here, it's perfect, it's crisp and clean, but here, look, it's not selecting everything. It's leaving, it has because it has a soft edge, and you don't want to have that. That's going to cause problems down the road, and you're going to have a headache, especially as you're moving on, because you're constantly going to be going back and forth, reselecting and cleaning. And just make it clean and simple. Keep it solid with a nice crisp edge like this, or if you want to use a lasso, you can get a nice crisp edge like that too on the side. So that's what I have to say about that one. So it doesn't really matter. And why doesn't it matter in Clip Studio when it's doing this? Because of this option. Once you back in the bucket tool, over in the far left where it says paint unfilled areas, at the top area in the subtool palette, panel, whatever that is. Now, once you select this color, all you have to do is just clean it up like this. You can go over it like this, and it cleans up. You can literally go through all the stuff on the edges and just clean it up. Okay? So that's one way. Now, if this really, 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 really bugs you, and you're like, okay, this is not coming in right, especially like say you're doing you have one color here, and then you have another color that's bumped up right next to this, right? Oops. Oh, my bad, got the wrong option right here. So you have another color that's bumped up right next to it like this. And so you're trying to fill, you see how you're trying to fill in all these little areas? It's really hard, and it makes it kind of like, how do you clean this up? Okay? What you could do is you can look at how the two colors, see it has like gaps in the middle. When you go here to this painted fill area, you still have the green selected. You can go right over it like this, and it'll fill it for you. But at the same time, you have all this area over here that's kind of messed up. So what I like to do is just go ahead and just lower the opacity on that, on the line art. So when you go back to the panel, the flat layer, click the pen tool. Now I click on this calligraphy tool. The reason why, and I modified it. When the calligraphy tool is at the default stages, it actually has right here. Is it? Nope. Yeah, it has this edge to it like this, which that can work. Okay, this is cool, but I'm never ever doing calligraphy unless I'm like, unless I'm trying to write something in Japanese. I just learned that the other day. I'm learning Japanese. So anyway, this is how it comes default. So what I do, I go through and I just go ahead and change the thickness just to kind of make it more round. So now I have a more round shape, and it's cool. And the reason why I do that is because I do it because I just keep that as my default brush because I never use it. So I use it as my default cleaning brush. So I change the shapes and I make sure anti-aliasing is off. Edit is on the first option, which is none. And now since I have the green fill, I can just go back through here and just kind of clean it up. Now this is one way of doing it. There's other ways, which is the same thing what I was showing you guys before. You can go through and just kind of make your selections like this, and just go ahead and fill. That's one way of doing that. That's another way of doing that. So, um, well, let me do this part first. So let's see here. Come on, baby. Okay.
We are Selena's die.
Ah.
It's a treasure hero.
Yes. I'm still learning Japanese, so don't test me yet. Test me in about 6 weeks.
You mean 6 years?
No. Text me in 6 weeks. Every day I'm practicing every day.
Did you practice today?
No, but I will practice. I'll practice like around 3 in the morning. I just get up and practice. I like to practice early when I have a fresh brain. But I'm horrible at it. Okay, so now you guys kind of get a sense of the flatting. Those the couple ways of using Clip Studio to flat. Probably the easiest way is to just go ahead and just flat this entire thing, like one color, like this. Like this, and so you flat one color. I'm just gonna rough it out. Oops. So just go ahead. And then once you have something like this, and you can make your selection, get that tool, that paint tool, the brush tool, and then go ahead and pick a color and just go ahead and paint your strokes in like this. That way it stays clean. This is another way of keeping things clean. So just like in Photoshop, there's 100 ways to do one thing. In Clip Studio, there's about 7 ways to do that one thing. But Clip Studio I have to give Clip Studio props on that, because Clip Studio actually takes what Photoshop does and it masters it. It makes it perfect with Clip Studio. Sorry, Photoshop, I love you, but I think Clip Studio got you on this one. Oops. So you see, I'm just going to go through. The reason I'm doing it like this is because it's quick and you get a nice clean separation. That's what you want, is a clean separation. If you choose to go through and say, hey, I'm gonna flat this arm another color, and then you choose to go back in there with or like say you're flatting the arm and then the shirt one color. Let's say you go through and you're like, okay, I'm gonna flat this arm one color, and then you start doing this. You start re-highlighting it again, and then you just go through and you pick a color. You're like, okay, I'm gonna color that. Then, oh, now I have to color this part, so I'm going to color this, make another selection, and then you go through and you're like, okay, here it is, I'm going to color this body or this part another color, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to color her ear another color. I'm just kind of going rough, but I'm going rough on purpose because I want you guys to get a sense of this. Let's say it's like this color. Okay, and then you're like, oh, cool, I'm done. And then you're thinking you're done, and you turn this in. You're like, okay, wow, okay, I finished this piece, and you turn it into the colors, or let's say you're jumping on, it's your own piece, you're pulling onto color. Now, look what happens. Look at the issues. Look at the gutters. See that? See that green? Look, there's green. There's green in between. Look at this. It's a giant green on the edge. That's horrible. You don't ever, ever, ever want to flat like that. So if this is a habit that you guys have, stop doing it and break it tonight. Don't flat like that. And the reason I'm saying it is because I've seen multiple artists do this mistake. So don't do it, and you won't get a visit by the Grinch or a really angry colorist. Why you keep flattening it like that? You're making my work hard. I have to clean it up. So just make sure everything's separate. Everything's clean, 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 clean. That's what you want to do. I'm going to clean that up. Okay. All right. Anyone asking questions? Let me see. Let's see. This is PSD. Oops. Oops. Nope. Oops. I can't even spell tonight. Okay. Questions, questions, questions. Let's review the questions. Good night. Oh, Wildstorm went to sleep. All right. Good night, Wildstorm. You cut soda out. Good. Cut the sugars. No sugars. I don't know if you guys. I'm sort of like um, a stickler on um, snapping people out of bad habits, especially when it comes to diet and your body. Like remember the other day I told you guys my old roommate I used to hide his cigarettes. Sometimes I would rip them out. Just I should rip the entire thing, put it back in the box, and leave it there so he can see it. And sometimes I'll just throw it right in the trash. And then when I was at Wildstorm, I used to get all the guys to start doing exercise because we're sitting at a table all day, and I was like, "Come on, we got to exercise. We got to do something." So we get up and just do something. I did the same thing at another studio too. I used to get other people to just get up and just do something, stretch your legs or something. You know, just kind of. I was like the coach, the motivator or something. Looks so pretty. Okay. Drinking your last Snapple. Snapple.
For flats on one layer.
Yes. Well, it depends. Um, it depends on the piece. Some pieces, yes, I just keep all the flats on one layer. Some pieces, I have to separate the character from the flats because it makes it a little bit easier. Let's say I'm coloring the background differently from the characters. So I have to separate the characters from the backgrounds. Um, and it works especially like if you're running like a giant global effect on the background, and you absolutely have and you want that effect to kind of blend in or shoot from one end of the character to the next without any interruptions. Keep it all in separate layers so it'll make your life a lot easier in the future. Um, Maybe I wonder if I could show you guys some of the older stuff I did. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm gonna see if I could find. All right. Yep. I'm going to show you guys some pieces that I worked on. Is this a PSD PDF? Nope, it's a JPEG, which is pretty cool. Now, some of you guys have seen this, some haven't. So I'm going to show you guys some of this art that I worked on a while back. So this is some character stuff that I did a while back. So I created this. This was for a game. I used to work at Sony, so I did some stuff for Sony PlayStation, and I was working on this PS4 game, and this is one of the characters. That's the name of the game. It was called Killstrain. And oh, look at that! I did a little toolbox full of crap. Um, and so these are some of the characters that I created. I had a concept, the characters, and then I had to quickly um, mock it up like this to make it look nice and sweet. She's like a sniper. But yeah, so this is one of them, and this is another one here. A little while back. So yeah, I really like this piece. So like this is what I was saying about keeping stuff on separate layers. So I actually kept this character on a separate channel, or I did the flats on him separately from the background. Um, so I had to actually because I treated them as two separate pieces, and this white effect going on in the background. I had to do that. So once I did the effect, it kind of just went around it. And then now I had that effect on its own layer, so I can move it left, right, up, down. You can do whatever you're doing with it. So it just makes it easier and cleaner, and so you don't have to worry about um, any future issues. So yeah, these are a couple of the characters that I did. The game was called Killstrain. Um, we went through there's some history in that game. It took us about 2 years to work on this game, 2.5 years. Um, and we went from like all kinds of stuff from it was supposed to be a zombie game to a zombie high school and zombie pirates, and then eventually turned into this. But yeah, things happen while you're there. But so eventually, but the game, I don't know why, but the game ended up failing, and um, I, and it's not on the PlayStation Store anymore, so you guys can't download this game. It used to be a free game too. You could get on it and play. But the team was amazing. The team that I work with, they're pretty amazing. But it had a rough start, so I think the rough start probably had a huge. It probably played a huge role in this thing not making it on PlayStation. But anyway, let's move on. So this is the tutorial. All right, so back to flatting. and dropping my pen all over the place. Okay, so okay, for the sake of speed, because I only have about 40 something minutes left in here, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and I'm just going to do the chest part. And I'll show you guys how to do the colors on that. This is all strictly for the sake of speed. I'll do surgery later. I'll just go over this. It doesn't matter because I'm going to clean it up later. Oh, I see. This is one of the coolest things. So this was really cool about Clip Studio. Now, since I have this blank layer behind it, everything, or just this blank, it's not really a layer, but it's just a blank open space. You can use that open space as a color, or like the absence of color. So the brush, instead of it's picking a color, it'll pick the absence of color. So let's say you go to the picker tool and you pick this here, you can start coloring. But if you use the picker tool and you click on the outside over here where there's no color, now suddenly you can, it becomes like an eraser. So that's one of the really cool things about Clip Studio that I love about this. It just makes it's more efficient, man. There's certain things that Clip Studio does. It takes what Photoshop does. This doesn't diminish Photoshop. Photoshop is literally like the one-stop shop for everything. You can, from animation to vector art to just flatting, the painting, the photo retouching. You name it. You use Photoshop for everything. But Clip Studio takes specific elements that Photoshop does and it masters it. It already comes with a package. You don't have to buy any external plugins. You don't have to create any actions or upload any actions. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Um, it's just something I just really, really like and really think about Clip Studio. Clip Studio, send me a check. I'm pimping you guys out. All right now. Okay, so all right, here we go. So I'm gonna paint the Wu-Tang Clan bird on her chest. Wu-Tang. How does the Wu-Tang go again? Is it this? The Wu-Tang? What was it? I don't remember. If you guys remember.
Casual Hero said, do you mind explaining the hotkeys that you use?
Hotkeys. Okay, so hotkeys. You want to go up here to go to File, and then you go here. What it says that is shortcut settings is modifier settings is command bar. Command bar is at the very top of this menu. The shortcut settings. So you go ahead and you click on that, and now you have this option here. This pops open. Now you can go through and you find what you're looking for. You have to go through. Say you want to have open page as an option. You click on it, and then once you're ready, you hit edit shortcut, and this window will pop up on the left. Then you go ahead and hit whatever you want. If you want open page to be Control 7, click Control 7, and it will set that as the hotkey for your for open page. That's if you want that. It just depends on what you're looking for. If you want, so you just have to go through. You want delete page as a specific key, you can go through and change it. Now it comes already with specific keys assigned. So if there's a specific key assigned to it, it'll warn you before it changes, and it'll say, hey, do you really want to change it? Because Control K, you say you try to set it for Control K, and Control K is already set for the knife tool or something. Then you can say, okay, then it'll warn you, say, hey, do you really want to change open page to Control K, because Control K is being used for something else already. So it'll warn you and it'll let you know, and then you just choose yes or no or whatever. And then if you make a mistake, you can always go through and you can reset right here on the far right. You can just reset everything and reset it to the default. Then you have to go back through and do all the cleanups on it. But this is basically how you set it. And here, see, they already have the ones that's already preset already. Control O, Control H. It's already set for you right here for a lot of things. So you just have to go through and just look through it and see what you said. I think yep, it snaps critical. I didn't set that. So the ruler, Control R, that's pretty easy. That's the same hotkey in Photoshop, same thing. So that's how you pretty much want to set it. Now the command bar at the top, you go to File, command bar settings. I think no, that's not what you do it. This is a File, modifier key settings. No. I'd say change that. It is command bar. So you go ahead to command bar settings, and then once you have it, you find what you're looking for, and then once you click on the option you want, it'll lay it up here at the top. And then once it's at the top and you're in the edit phase, you can go through and you can manipulate it and drag and drop. And meaning you can push stuff around. You can move it a little bit more to the left and right. It's up to you. You just have to go through and play around with it and see what you like. And if you don't like it, you can always restore it, and it'll clean everything up back for you. So it's not that hard. And a lot of this I learned from Clip Studio. I did not learn from a book. I learned through trial and error. I just picked it up and I told myself, okay, I'm going to practice. So I started practicing, and next thing I started picking it up. And the thing I learned about pretty much all applications, any application that's out there, they're all going to have similar functions. All of them. They're all going to, so if you pick up any 3D package and then you jump around from one to the next to the next, they're going to have similar functions. The interface is going to look different, and certain strategies on doing something like um, like when you're rigging a character in Maya versus rigging a character in Lightwave. It's both rigging, but when you do it in Maya, it's done. You have like 5 more steps versus the 2 steps in Lightwave. It just depends. It just everything just has like a little bit more. But at the very end, you're pretty much going to get the same function. Similar to Photoshop. Photoshop and Clip Studio, they're going to have the same things, but the process to actually get it done is going to be slightly different. But you can mimic it too. You can mimic the hotkeys. Like say there's a default setting in Photoshop that you're used to that doesn't apply to Clip Studio. You can literally change it in Clip Studio to mimic if you're used to hitting a specific key. Like say the lasso tool was L in Photoshop, and when you come to well, actually, it is. It's like and in Clip Studio, the lasso tool is M. But you want to change it to L, you can literally go through Clip Studio and change it to L to match, just so you won't have too much of a shift in your brain when you. What is this thing? It's like a little mosquito flying around or something. What is this mosquito? I think it's the fly. That's superhero. Ant-Man. He's like trying to buzz around me or something. All right, here we go. So for the sake of speed, I'm only going to color the chest and the leg area. So let's just do this right now. Yeah, because I only have about 30 minutes, and 30 minutes is not enough time. I need about honestly to get this right. I need another 4 hours of just coloring this piece. But I'm sorry, my time is limited on these screens. The reason why is because I have about 19 things to do every day, 19 different projects I'm jumping around. So I just have to keep it moving. Okay, so now I have the flats. Um, and we're just going to do this for now. Hold on. Booyah! Let's see if I can show you guys some more stuff. I'll show you guys afterwards. Okay, here we go. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this. Color it all one color. And
Casual Hero says 20 projects. Well, geez, Ryan, maybe we should hire an assistant.
I will, trust me.
Delver says, so when you're drawing, is that you complete a sketch, move on to the next, or do you work on one for so long, come back to it, and then work on another one?
Yeah, usually I'll work on something till I get sick of it, and then I'll move on to something else. Or that's usually what I do. But there are times when um, I only have 2 hours to spend on something, so I'll block out the entire world, put it on my headphones, and just attack. I'll knock this thing out for 2 hours, and then after that, when I'm done, I jump onto the next, work on something for another 4 or 5 hours, and I'm done. I work on something another 3 more hours or something. Or there are times I'll sit there for the entire day and just work on one thing. It just depends uh, the day and stuff like that, what's going on. So, yep, all depends. Change this here to make it more rich color. You keep it like this. Okay, we'll do this for now. Yeah, slightly different. I changed it slightly different because I don't want to. But you can also change it over here, which says follow adjacent. You can change it like that. See how I'm selecting just one leg at a time. When you click on this follow adjacent option over here on the side, it's pretty cool. See, like here, I can only select either the top or the bottom. But the moment you unclick that, it selects everything, or all the browns and stuff like that. Oh, this is another issue too. Let me show you guys. All right, so I'm going to zoom in and see here. Look, see these little stray points right here? That's bad. You don't want to have stuff like that. So how do you fix it? Go back to the bucket tool. Select the, make sure you have that color. Select the paint unfilled areas and just let's fix. always double check your work, making sure things are seamless. So now I have these two pieces that's separated. And what does Jesus do? So you have to do the same thing. Jesus saves, so you have to save. Control S. Control S is your favorite, is your friend of the day. Especially if you have like a backup drive or something, which is smart. You're gonna want to keep a backup drive on your computers because you need a backup drive that mirrors your computer, even if it's a physical or a cloud. Get it, absolutely get it, because computers fail. Especially if you have a PC. PCs fail way quicker than Macs. Like I buy a new PC like every year and a half. I have a brand new box. Um, um, that's just something I do. Just keep it going, and then all I have to do is when I get a brand new box, all I do is I keep my separate. Um, I just keep my drive separate. So I have multiple drives. I have. I don't know if you guys can see this one here. I don't want to plug it, but it's easy. Anyone can go online and buy these drives. So I have a portable drive which has 4 terabits. So I just keep that, or terabytes, whatever people want to say, and I just keep it as my storage, and it's just a backup. But I have like 2 cloud backup files too. So I keep things in multiple areas, if in case something happens, you can get a virus um, or you know little boo boos can happen to you. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys another way of coloring rather than how I was coloring before, which was basically um, with cut bands. Okay, I'm not going to do this one with cut bands. I'm going to do this one as like a more of a painted piece. Okay. I just realized I sound like what's his name from what was that cartoon? He says, "Okay,
Oh, Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison."
No.
Who was it? Okay. What's the character? What's his name? Okay.
No, Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mackey. I love that show. Okay. All right, here we go. Or let me separate this here part just to, oops, just to have it separated for now. I'm sure everyone had a teacher in high school or middle school that was just like that. Mr. Mr. Garrett. All right. Okay. You need to stop saying that. No, now all I'm going to think about is the guy every time I say, okay, okay. All right, here we go. So, create a new layer. Um, and remember, I like to keep things on layers. So I'm going to multiply this one first. Brush tools. Here is some of the really cool things about Clip Studio. I'm going to show you guys a really cool brush tool, okay? So this brush tool, it says, I love using this one here. This is a smooth watercolor option here. I pretty much use that for a ton of stuff. So let's say you have a color if you're applying here, right? And then you have another color over here that you're applying. And you want these colors to blend in together. Look at that. You can literally start pulling this color over here of pulling that color over here. And I'm not switching anything. I'm using the same brush. I'm lightly clicking on the brush on the areas that I want to paint. And look how I'm pulling one color into the next. And then you can go through and you can mess with it. Now, right now I have this green selected. So I can still pull from the red. But the moment I press hard, the green comes out. So I can pull as long as I'm pulling soft, I guess. But the moment I start pushing harder, look, it's starting to bring out the greens. So this is a really good brush that you can use. And from what I can understand, I don't think Photoshop has a brush like this. Unless um, you have to actually either like search for a brush and download it, or if you know what you're doing, you can go through and create your own brushes over there, and get it to work like this. But you have to absolutely know what you're doing, in Photoshop, which is pretty. That's some people prefer that. If you're intuitive and you know how to work it, go for it. So I love it. I love it. I love it. So yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my selection. Oops. That's what I want to do. Now that color is on, and I know I'm going to have like a warm background. So I just put a flat background just to kind of help me visualize my target, what I'm shooting for. So from here, let's say I want like some of so this is down. Go ahead and just start painting. Actually, you know what? I don't want to color her brown like that. Let's go with actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go with more reds. Push the reds in there. Now, I'm going to show you guys a strategy I like to use. And because this brush works this way, I'll paint it in layers. So let's say I want to have this type of color coming out of the very center, which is great. Okay. So we go through and you're like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And you don't want this color to go away. You want to keep it going. You don't want that color to blend away or anything. So what you do is go ahead and you're going to start to color on another layer. I'm going to create that other layer in a minute. So just get it at as close as possible to what you're looking for. Say something like this. Now create another layer. I multiply that layer, but you don't have to. So I'm going to create another layer underneath it. And let's see, I'm going to try to shoot towards, try and pull a little bit more of this color back in here. Let's warm it up a little bit.
Casual Hero says, so if the core shadow is in the middle like that, then the light source is behind her.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be all around her, like all around her. But I need like some blacks actually show in there to kind of keep it popping. So I'm just going to warm it up a little bit right here. I'm not going to touch the upper part. I'll just do this top part right here. now I have two of them. I have this color and this. It's kind of faint, you know, you can kind of see it a little bit. So now I have that. So now once I have these two, I'm going to create another layer underneath it. Then I'm going to try to shoot some more of. Oops, hold on. Let's try to. Now this is me just fine tuning with my brush. What you could do too, you can also use a grad tool, create your fall off and do this. You know, you can do a fall off with your grad tool like that, which is pretty cool. But I'm using the brush tool right now. And now you have everything on separate layers. Now you don't have to change your colors. You can go back and just keep massaging certain things until it fits what you're looking for. Like, okay, it's close enough. See, so it's almost like painting, you know, with clay. That's what it feels like. It literally feels like you're painting with clay. It's this one and multiply. But see, what happens when I take the multiply off? Kind of has this, which is kind of cool. I don't hate it. What I'll do is I'll do this. I'll just go ahead and once I get a sense of what I'm looking for, like okay, this is close. I just go ahead and just merge everything out. Not everything, just those color layers. And so now those colors are all on this one layer right here. So now I have that. And whenever I want to add more, just go ahead and create another layer. Just get in the habit of doing that, creating a layer and then coloring. Let's try doing something. Let's see how we can play with this a little bit. Oh, like that. No, I'll change it later. But let's see. Play with this a little bit. Add some more. Now these are what I'm gonna do. I'm just trying to add like a little hint of like another color in there. So I'm just applying it right now. I'm not worried about what it looks like. What I'm more concerned about is the application, meaning the color exists. Now, let's say that's not what I'm looking for, but it's still on its own layer. So now I can always lower the opacity like this, or you can go ahead and change the way that colors apply. You can add it, overlay. You know, it all depends on you as an artist. Soft light. Soft light's not bad. Wow, that's way too dark. Hue. I still want to see a little bit of it. I don't want to go too far from it. So I'll probably do that. Now I have that. I'm just going to merge it down. Now it's there. It's solid. Okay. Now I'm going to keep going on. I'm going to hide this selection, this area. What's up?
Hero asks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ethan had to go.
Oh, Ethan. Oh, yeah. All right, Ethan. Is he around? What time is it? Oh, it's not. Yeah, we have about
Oh, that was a while ago.
yeah, we have about 13, 14 minutes anyway.
Casual Hero asks, so use a light to render from this wall as a liner.
Yes, exactly. Combination of both. So, oh, this is important. I'm going to backtrack a little. The what I like to do is see this flat channel, this flat layer right that's here, right? To make sure that I don't accidentally merge down on it, you can do two things. You can go ahead and just lock it, put a padlock on it, or you can go right here to the left of it, of that padlock, and you set it as a draft layer right here. So now, see I'm hitting Control E to merge down, and it's not merging down. It won't do it. But a draft layer will merge with another draft layer. So if you have two draft layers, it will merge down to it. So be careful about that. So now it's set as a draft layer. You can still go through and make your selections, and then keep painting. Now, before when I was showing you guys the other way of how I was coloring, I was keeping things on layers. And on this one here, I'm actually merging stuff down. You can still keep stuff on layers. I'm just merging down stuff down specifically on this one here just to show you guys another strategy of how I merge stuff down, how you can work on when you're doing your colors. So as I'm coloring too, I want you guys to keep in mind of her shape. Okay, let's say I'm gonna do this for the sake of doing it. So she has this body, right? So we have to keep in mind she has a round shape here, like a barrel type shape.
Alright, I'm headed out.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Tired.
Say bye to Hannah, guys. She's and girls. She's she's clocking out.
Sorry, I'm tired. Oh. Good night, everybody.
So there's this barrel type shape, okay, going on right here. Do this. So now, since we have this barrel type shape here, oops, make it so everyone can see it a little bit. Okay. So you have to keep in mind when you're coloring this that this character here is going to have some kind of dimensions to it. So obviously, whatever color we pick, let's say we pick like this yellow color. So it's going to have there's going to be a fall off to how she's colored. So just keep that in mind. It's going to have a fall off. So it's going to go from this color to this color to this color. Okay? Or you can make as many bands. I'm just doing it at 3 bands for now. So it's going to have the same thing on the other side. Now, um, that's just one shape. Now, within that shape, there's other shapes that's in it, other round shapes in it. So it's going to have, let's say, it's going to have another, you're going to have one boob over here. Why am I calling the boob? Her breast. Um, her breast is going to have one here. And and then you have another one over here. So now you're going to have a similar color structure going on with this. Okay. So and it's the same thing as if it's let's say you have like little things going on in here, like this part of her body is kind of it's kind of like have this different shape to it. I'm showing you guys a cool technique of this is how I want you to think as you're coloring. So we have another one here. So now, oops, did I mess up? Yeah, I did. So that same lighting effect that's applied to this, the entire chest, you can apply uh, to all the round objects. So this object, this object, this object, this object. You can apply that same type of lighting effect. You just want to think of it like that. So let's say this is what was going on here. So now we're just going to merge everything down. I'm going to go back to that brush tool. And now let's say you're I'm going to hide that for now. I'm just going to blend it in. But you're following these contours. Remember, think about it. Like you were actually, let's say if this was applied underneath it, let's hide this for now. If this was applied underneath it like this, you're going to follow those same contours. So now you're blending this all in. Now, obviously, this inside part of the of her breast, this part here, it's not going to have the same lighting as over here because the is whatever light is over here and is being projected over here, it's going to create a nice harsh a bright area here, but it's not going to have the same brightness over here. It's just not. So so you have to think about all that as you're coloring. So obviously it's going to get darker in this region. And you just have to keep all that in mind as you're going and just keep massaging. And then you're going to get like a nice, you're going to start to get a sense of it. Now, that's just the underlining parts of it. Now, you want to push it even further to actually get it to look a little bit more a little more round. So you want to get some color in there. Oops. Got about a minute to go. Now that's just the Wu-Tang Clan. Okay. Or you can just go ahead and go back to your flats. Just like that. Clean. Now when you apply everything, it starts to look like it's more of a boob. Now, what I like to do too, on top of that, to reinforce it, is to just go ahead and you could create like a layer on top of that, um, and possibly pick like, you know, since it's more warm. I'm not too concerned about the color itself because I'm more concerned about the values, meaning the darks and lights, and how am I going to create this shape. Because you can always modify all that later. I can push everything to look more cooler, or I can push it to look more warmer. It doesn't matter. So, see, like something like this, like I'm doing this, applying this, but then you see you overlay it. See how it pops the color on that. So you can literally go through and just push it in, like, you know, different areas that you're trying to get this to go. And that's just an overlay. Let's say I'm screening this. You go through and you screen this. See, now look, it starts to create this type of effect here. Now, when it comes to the side over here, obviously I'm gonna have something a lot. When it comes to here, I'm gonna have something a lot stronger. So I'm gonna play around. I'll just keep playing around with the colors until I actually get something, you know, that looks right over here. But that's to come later on. Right now, I'm just worried about just these two areas. And what you could do is I could maybe show you guys one more last trick. What I like to do. I was watching this one guy on YouTube, and I can't remember the artist's name, but I was watching him, and he was actually showing you how to cheat, how he cheats all the time. Um, and he literally was just grabbing pictures from here, grabbing pictures from there, dropping it into his image, running some effects, and just cheating because he's that's kind of a smart way of doing it too, because you're not creating something from scratch. You're just taking something that exists and you're just reinterpreting it into your piece, and you're just and with the type of effects that's around. You know, it's a good way of kind of, it is sort of cheating, but it kind of gets you across that line. Um, so let's say okay, watch this. I'm gonna show you guys some really cool ways of kind of cheating something too. Let's say that Wu Tang symbol, or what I keep calling the Wu Tang symbol. Let's say that the phoenix symbol on her chest is metallic or something. So what I would do is, you could do something like this. I just found a metallic image on Google. See how it's creating shapes already? See how it has like this type of cool little shape? So you can, that's overlay. Let's say I multiply it. Look at that. Just from multiplying alone, it does that. Color burn, not lighten. Maybe, no. Okay, well, depends on how you want to apply it. Probably, no, not soft light. Definitely not darken. But yeah, kind of work with that maybe. Let's say it's multiply, okay? Because I kind of like how that's being applied there a little bit. Because you can always change it later. So you're multiplying this. Where's that overlay layer? See? Now watch this. When you apply this, see? Look how it adds. It's a slight cheat. And to get rid of this, if you zoom in, you see how it's kind of grainy. You can always go back to that brush, the smooth watercolor brush. You could either run a blur filter on top of it. You could do that. Let's just run a blur filter, see what happens. So you get a filter, blur, just run blur on it, right? Kind of blurs a little bit, but it's not perfect, you know. If you run like a Gaussian blur on it, right, it'll blur it, but it's still not too. It's almost gives it like this. It's almost too global for me. You kind of want to adjust your blurs on it a little bit. So I tend to like to just stick with my brush and just go ahead and just kind of smooth it out a little bit. Smooth it out. It's a little bit of cheating, but it gets you past that hump super fast. You don't have to think about it. You're using existing shapes in nature or in the real world, and you're just manipulating it. So these are all cheats that you can use when you're painting. And here we go. Now you have this really cool shape. Now you can literally go through, and since it's you can look at that where you're pushing that shape, and it has like a metallic type feel already. You can go through it like that. Doesn't matter. Clean it up, and now I have this metallic type feel going on her chest already. And then so you have that. And I did the same thing on the other side over here. Showing you guys how to cheat and give me some extra time. I'm just quickly messing with one of them a little bit more because I don't want it to look like it's a mirrored image. So I'm just going to keep playing with it until it's somewhat more, a little bit more different. And see, now we have this metallic type shape going on here, and it's all on your layers, all in layers. Oh, actually, yeah, let's do this. Oops, not that. Turn that back on. Put this screen over here. Yeah. Put it underneath. Come on, baby. Yeah. Well, lower that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. This one over here. Now you can keep going since it's really hot and there's a lot of stuff happening on that chest. I'm gonna go hot white. I'm just gonna go screen this layer. Now I have a sense of where the rest of this is gonna. Let's go ahead and just add some highlights to it. Oops. Now I'll clean up here. Okay. Now select line art. That. Now that's if I was doing more like a painted type style type of effect, and I would carry this same process throughout the rest of this. Um, you know, another thing you can do too is like say this fire effect back here. You can literally go through and um, say painting like some fire techniques, which has already started off with this, um, which works. So right now I'm just throwing colors. It doesn't matter because I'm just going to throw some colors. Now in Photoshop, this is where Photoshop can really take over because Photoshop has plugins that you can. Once I apply these shapes, I can run some plugins and turn that into fire right there. It's pretty dope. But I'm not in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna keep playing around with some kind of, say I'm creating this fire thingy, whatever. Now I have something like that. Now you can go through and you can use this as a base. Just kind of run through it like this and keep playing with it. Now this is the harder way of doing it. This will take you forever. This will take you a long time just to kind of go back and forth. You keep playing with it until you get some kind of fire look or something. This is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to cheat. Or you can actually do a combination of both too. Like say I have this type of fire effect, right? But this is going to take me a long time just going back and forth. Let's say that's one way of doing it. Now, let's say I'm going to grab me some fire. I have a folder full of textures that I use. If you're an artist, you should absolutely have a folder somewhere on your computer with just textures in there. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a really cool website to go to. If you know this, great. If you don't know this, then great. This is a website called CG Textures. This site is amazing for a ton of things. And here's one of them that you can go through and get fire. So when you come in, you can get fire like this. Look, the fire's already done. You don't have to do much. It's there. So you just have to pretty much grab the fire you're looking for, and then you click on where you want to download, and you just download it. Since I already have I should have yeah. Wow, that's my old email. But so here it is. So you have this file here, and you can download a bunch of bunch of fire. So I'm going to load this here, copy, paste. Now I have this fire in here. Screen this. Oh, hold on. There we go. I had to change it. The entire folder was on normal. When it's on normal, you don't see anything. But the moment you hit through, you get to see some stuff. So now you have this fire here you can play with. So you have this fire pattern already here. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to try to paint a brand new picture like I was showing you how to do here. You can literally just jump into it and just go through and start you know painting on top of it like this because the fire is there for you already. I'm not concerned about like all this stuff back here behind her body. I'm not worried about it because I'll get all that later. Because you can actually put it on like all like completely behind her too, so that's fine too. But this is just one fire, one image. I'm gonna go through and just kind of clean it up. Blend, and this is I'm doing this by hand. In Photoshop, there are filters you can use to quickly run like a one solid effect over this whole thing, and it kind of just gets rid of a bunch of the crap that's around here. So this is just one way. Now this is just creating the fire. Then on top of that, you can go back in there and you can keep layering it with more objects, more effects, um, and just keep copy paste and just move this fire around into something. How you just move it around. Um, Copy paste. You can rotate it. Put something over here. And my computer is thinking. But you get the idea behind this. So, and you just keep going and going and going until you get like the type of effect you're looking for. So this is basically how I showed you guys a couple steps on how I did a combination, to get like this type of painted effect on top of into this comic drawing. That's one way. There's another way I could show I would have shown you guys before, where there's you actually have bands. Um, it kind of depends on what you want. I kind of prefer to go to use the band route and create bands instead of like a painted effect. But you can do a painted effect if you want. So I hope you guys learned something from this. Um, let's see. I think this. I'm going to end this right now because I'm already over. So let me see what questions I can answer for you guys real quick before I take off. Fire, fire. A trick I learned from Andrew Dahlhaus, DC color artist. Take the firework you initially did and then paste the fire texture into the layer above and then and then set the soft light. Yeah, that works too. I usually delete some of the excess black in the back. Exactly, that works too. So you can do all that. There's, like I said, there cheating is good, and there's a hundred ways to do one thing literally throughout these programs. It's up to the artist. Every artist is going to have something slightly different. Some people are going to do the same. Some things are going to be different. But what the main thing is that we're kind of shooting towards the same direction. You know, we have this thing, and that's the beauty of it because it's this is art, and art is non-restrictive, and it art leans towards expression. It just say constantly express yourself. Just do you, produce yourself, explode on this piece of paper. You're showing yourself on in this art. So that's one way well, there's a lot of ways of doing it, but that's the main thing behind art. It's a universal expression. It's an individual expression uh, that's connected to this universe. I guess that's the way you can kind of explain it. So we're all sort of connected in some way. But anyway, that should be it for now. And let's see what I can see. Any other questions? What's coming in? If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Oh, yeah, I did show you guys a lot today. So yeah, so if you want to, um, hello Ryan and the chat. I'm not sure what that means, but sure. Kitty Raj. Hello, Kitty Raj. Someone said, "Yo, oh, yo, casual hero, yo, Kitty." Oh, it's like a Catwoman. I was using the dodge tool to burning some color. You can use the dodge tool to do that. It depends. It depends on the layer. It depends on the effect. It depends on what layers are above it or below it. It all depends on that. You can use the dodge layer or the dodge effect. Um, let's see. Let's see. Total recall. I'm not even gonna answer that one. All right. All right. I'm trying to go back and see if I get any questions I missed. Any more info about expressions, especially female? Um, like facial expressions. Let's say the I wouldn't say too much more. Women, you just want to stay softer whenever you draw something with women. Softer lines, softer contours, softer colors. Um, like if I was coloring, um, let's say I was coloring her face. I will forget about the fire effect. I'm just going to use I'm just going to use as I was coloring her face. Um, and I'm going to go hard first. Okay, so you're coloring her face, and you have all these hard line effects. And because she's a woman, you have these hard edges. Or not necessarily because she's a woman, but because you're coloring, you have all these bands that you're coloring, and then you have this hard effect. With men, it's okay to leave it like this. This is really rough. I'm just roughing this out just so you can get a sense of the difference between the three different bands that's going on. But with women, you want to soften that up. You just want to do it. So you can either go back into the colors like this and soften it up like this and soften it up, or just do some kind of grad. This is I actually showed this to you guys before. We did like this grad technique like this, and then it just kind of creates like this softer look to it, where there's a transition from there's a smooth transition going across like this. So that's basically it. You don't want to leave hard edges like that on women. Just soften it up. Um, but as far as that's just to show you with colors, but it also works with the line art, with expressions and stuff like that. Um, you want to try to keep stuff, even though it has some power to it, to certain things like on her body, she still has like some hard edges, I guess, which is what gives her some kind of power because she's a powerful character. But at the same time, you want to keep things soft and smooth and feminine looking at the same time. You don't want to push it. The same thing with the expressions on her face. You don't want to make it too feminine unless she's like a Harley type character. Then some people draw softer, but I like to draw her a little bit more edgy. So so I tend to keep the small shapes of her a little bit more edgy. Her chin, her cheeks, her nose, her eyes, a little bit more grit, and there's some edge to it. Um, um, but as far as like expressions, specifically more on expressions, you still want to do the same thing. Keep it soft expressions versus hard expressions. If you're going to go towards a more traditional comic versus a more of a toon style, obviously the toon styles are going to be a little bit softer. The traditional is going to be a little bit more harder. So you just want to keep stuff like that in mind. Um, but it's not that too far from what I showed you guys before when I took the Batman's head or just another head and just kind of just created some expressions. I showed you what I did with the Brothers Bond stuff. Um, but yeah, so that's basically it for that. So let's see, who was the one that asked me that question? Was that you, Casual Hero? I'll have to break it up in sessions. Yeah, I should. Um, if I was working on physical media, what do you mean physical media? Tooth? You said you mean like with markers and paints and stuff like that? Um, it would take me longer if I was using markers or paints. The reason why you can't really cheat with markers and paints and stuff like that. Uh, as you can see with a digital file, I can cheat. With a marker, you have to, if you don't get it down right the first time, if you do paint, you don't get it down right the first time, you have to go back over it and go back over it and go back over it, and you gotta keep going. And then there's also that you have to worry about the materials you're using. If there's certain markers that blends great with some boards and some markers that are horrible with some boards, so it's going to bleed everywhere. And there are times you want to use those watercolor pencils, and you might want to you're doing some strokes, and You go back with a wet brush, and then you have to give it time to dry. You come back, and then you try another marker on top of it, and it turns out horrible. So you have to touch it up and then clean it up. It's a messy it's more of a messy process when you use real actual hard tools versus this. If this doesn't work or something, you bring it, you can scale it, flip it, change the color, move it back and forth, delete, try again. It's a lot quicker to do it on the digital side. So I take advantage of that a lot. Like when I'm working, let's say um, I have a cover or something I'm doing, and there's a painted effect that needs to be done on this cover. I might, and let's say I have a week to work on this. Great, I'll take that time and literally use paint and paint something out. But there are times when I need to turn this cover in in the next 18 hours, and I have to do this painted piece. I'm gonna go digital, most likely. Just I'll still get that same painted effect, but it's a lot quicker, a lot cleaner. So it just depends on the project. A lot of this depends on the project, depends on how much time I have, and basically what it calls for. So pulling from some other artists. Actually, you know what? I when I was younger, I used to look at other artists and study them. Now I'm older, I don't really study much from people. I tend to feel like if I do look at another artist, it's more for inspiration. It's not really for, oh, how are they doing it so I can learn how they do it. I'm looking at it like, oh, that's an interesting take on what I'm already doing. So that's kind of how I look at it. So I'm like, all right. And then if it's something is great, I'll probably adopt it into what I'm doing. But if not, because I have a good sense of how things are done already. Um, so I don't typically look at other artists to see how they're doing it so I can learn. Unless I absolutely don't know what I'm doing, then I'll do it. But usually, because to me, I'm not trying to. I don't produce with like an open blank area in my head, thinking like, oh, how am I going to fill this in, and can someone help me fill this in? I know how to fill it in. I'll probably look at someone to see how they do something, and kind of like, okay, I get a sense of it, but it's more like a refresher for me. I get the kick in the head and say, okay, I kind of get a sense of how other people do it, and oh, okay, and it literally like puts the fire inside of me, and I want to draw even more, and I want to paint even more. I want to just keep going and keep going. So yeah, that's my take on that. I can. Oh, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, the actual pens and markers. So okay, you already said that. I already answered that one. Okay, so anyway, well, I showed you guys some stuff. A lot of the things I'm showing you guys, I don't take it to the very very end because I'm talking a lot, and most of it is demonstrations. Um, but if trust me, if I was sitting there it's by myself and I had no distractions or I wasn't doing anything, I would knock this out like super fast. Um, um, so and usually what I'll do is I'll draw something or I'll paint something, put it away. I'll put it away for an hour. I'll go for a walk, go have some lunch. I don't care what I do. I'll probably jump on my PlayStation and play like 30, 40 minutes of games just to kind of get my brain away from this a little bit. Then I'll come back to it. When I come back to it, I'll see all my mistakes and I'll get a brand new, fresh eye on it. And I'm like, I got it. I see it. Then I attack it again. And, it's almost like it's almost like I'm seeing it for the first time. And then I see it for the first time again. I'm like, I instantly see the mistakes. That's why, like, whenever I critique people, I try to get people to show me their work. Um, show me your roughs. What are you thinking before you got to this final stage? So when I see the thinking, I'll know exactly where you're heading. So I need to see what you're thinking. So usually when people show me stuff, they show me the finished piece and it's all polished and clean and hey, this is it. That's risky because you show me that you're thinking it's done and it's well and it's great, and then I'm going to look at it and I'm going to like, no, it's not done. There's errors. Your hands are wrong. Your feet are wrong. Why are you coloring this way? Look at the head. The head is crooked. You're gonna see like little things here and there. I will see it. So that's why I rather see someone's sketches. Show me their rough sketches, and then we can go back and forth. I can because I literally read those sketches almost like it's braille. It's just something I've trained myself. I literally I feel it. You know, if you guys get a chance, start going into doing live sketching. Go find a community college, find somewhere something in your community. You can Google it and just look and see where they have like live art sketching going on. They're not expensive. You can spend 5, 10, maybe $30. You sit in this class for a couple of hours and you draw a nude model, and just bring a giant pad with you with charcoal or pencils, or if you prefer, bring watercolors, and paints. And if that's what what you want to do, go for that, but start getting into that. That's literally like boot camp training for everyone. It's including for me. No matter as far as much as I've been doing this, I still love doing that. I could sit there and just sit in front of a new model and just draw because it helps me stay sharp when I go back to my fundamentals, and especially when I'm doing like quick 5-minute sketches, 15-minute sketches, 30-minute sketches. Those are all really cool things to do. So don't ever give that up. In fact, seek it and search it. Go find it. There are schools out there that they're doing things. Um, so yeah, so that should be it for now, and I am going to take off because I've been on here for just way too long. So use an app to meet. Okay, good. You found a few. Good, good, good. Do that. Um, yep. Back in the day with Batman Beyond, did an airbrush. Yep. Uh, I don't airbrush anymore. Is this Angie? Is this the real Angie? Are you for real? Angie, is that you, man? You better say something. Is this Angie? I think this is yep. Okay, so Angie is that's my boy. We were in college together. This guy right here, NGN 100, 9100. That's my man. He's a really good artist, man. He's actually from Haiti, and we went to school together in Miami, and I think he lives in California now. He still lives somewhere out here in California. But yeah, Angie, I'm glad you're here, bro. And all right. Anyway, yes, I am leaving, and I'll see you. All right, Casual Hero. See you on Sunday. Um, and anything else? All right, now that should be it. All right, so that should be it for now. So I'll see you guys on Monday. I will do another live stream, and don't just watch me. Watch other artists. There are other artists. I know Bernard Chang. He's doing streaming himself. Jim Lee's doing streaming. There's other artists that streams on Twitch. Go watch those guys. They're doing amazing work, and and yeah, and don't just learn from me. Learn from other people because you're gonna piece everything. You're gonna take a little bit from this guy, a little bit from this guy, a little bit from this guy. You're gonna piece it all together, and you're gonna make some amazing art. So anyway, I'll see you guys, and I'll see you guys on Monday. So I guess I close this out, right? How do I close this out? I forgot how I did this. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm the artist and the the guy behind the scenes at the same time. See you guys.